Thank you. Drivers in one part of London could face themselves facing a £20 on-the-spot fine if they get caught with their engine running when their car isn't moving, when it's parked. Councillors say the measure's been introduced in an attempt to cut levels of pollution.
Well, according to Public Health England, 28,000 people die prematurely every year in the UK as a result of air pollution.
Last month, the government admitted that some cities will not meet European air quality targets until 2030.
And campaigners say up to 70% of air pollution, more than two-thirds of it, comes from cars, vans and lorries on our roads.
Well, with us to discuss this is Caroline Russell, who's a Green Party councillor in Islington, where the fines are being introduced. And motoring journalist Mike Rutherford is in our studio in central London. Morning, both. Thanks very much for joining us. Caroline Russell, let's talk to you first. So, when would you be giving out fines?
I think the fines will actually be pretty rare, in effect, because what the officers will be doing is advising people about the important need to switch off their engine when they're parked. The knowledge about air pollution and the damaging impact on health, particularly anyone with underlying lung and heart conditions and for children with asthma, has been increasing rapidly. And we need to inform people that if they switch off their engine when they're parked, then they cause much less pollution and less damage to people's health.
So it's not when you're sitting at traffic lights or stuck in traffic, it's when you've deliberately pulled over, you're at the school gates or somebody's nipped into the shops or a bus at a bus stop sort of thing?
Exactly. It's waiting to pick someone up, waiting to drop someone off. That's the time when you should switch off your engine to also save fuel.
And the fine only kicks in if you are asked and then you refuse, is that right?
Exactly. So people are being asked to switch off their engines and it's being explained to them why they should switch off their engines, and then if they refuse at that point, then there's an on-the-spot £20 fine.
OK, let's pick up some of those thoughts with Mike Rutherford. Is this a good idea, do you think? Will it change behaviour?
Well, it seems fair enough to me. That's the first, as far as I'm concerned, that you're given the option to correct your ways before you're fined. If only that was true, with other minor offences. But on the wider point, we're hearing a lot here about drivers, motorists. But what about truck drivers? What about bus drivers? What about taxi drivers? Because it seems to me that it's the bus and the taxi drivers that do more idling, sitting around, going nowhere, with gross polluting engines running than general motorists, who often have cars with stop-start facilities anyway. I don't know if you know, but the modern motor car you can buy for not very much money at all. We're talking about a Super Mini with a stop-start facility. The engine cuts out automatically and restarts as soon as you engage gear and press the accelerator. So although I welcome the news that people are going to be politely requested to switch their engines off, I can't see how this can work unless we get everybody from the dust cart operator working for the local council to the bus drivers to the taxi drivers to others to do it as well.
Let's put that to Caroline. What about the bus drivers and lorry drivers? Does it cover everybody, this regulation?
This is just one small measure that a local authority can take to help reduce the overall impact of air pollution on our health in our cities. But of course we need action to clean up our buses, clean up the taxis, and police vehicles. Many of them have a system where they have to keep their engine running in order to keep their computers going. So we need action from, across the board to clean up our vehicles.
Right. Will you be finding lorry drivers and bus drivers as well if necessary, and cabbies?
I know the council is in dialogue with the bus companies that have bus routes going through Islington to encourage them to turn off their engines.
That doesn't sound like a yes, though, does it?
I would imagine if a bus driver refused to turn off their engine, then they should be fined. But I think they're going to be getting direction from the bus companies to do that.
Let's just pick up one other thought with you, Mike Rutherford, as well. We're hearing from the Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, that motorists with diesel engines would be hit with £10 increase in congestion charge. Not till 2020, but in 2020 that will happen. What do you think about that and this sort of targeting of diesel engines?
Well, diesel engines in terms of overall pollution levels are among the lowest emitters. That's why the government and the Department for Transport, after much thought, have allowed some diesel engine cars to have zero road tax, because they are comparatively kind to the environment, over all things considered. But I come back to this point that, while we seem to be targeting car drivers here, I think it's fair to say we didn't get a yes from the Green Party representative about taxi drivers and bus drivers suffering the same rules as ordinary motorists. And I think it's also fair to say that it's an absolute absurdity for Boris Johnson to sort of put the boot in on diesel cars. I mean, sometimes state-of-the-art diesel cars, when he's not doing it with public transport and other gross polluting vehicles.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Just very quick. The diesel issue is all about nitrous dioxide, isn't it, Caroline?
And so diesel vehicles perform really well in terms of reducing carbon dioxide emissions, but in terms of nitrogen dioxide, they contribute to 90% of the transport emissions in London.
Okay. All right.
And these are the diesel buses, of course, that we're talking about
All
as
right.
well.
Good. Mike, thanks very much. Mike Rutherford and Caroline Russell.
I know lots of you like these two here also talking about that as well. Thank you very much for all your comments.
It's 7:45. This is Breakfast. These are the main stories this morning. Israel says it's